made it to Selection Monday. Welcome to our In the Circle second annual Division II Selection Monday watch along. I'm Victor Anderson alongside Eric Lopez. Woo! So we're finally made it, my brother. We have finally made it. We are here. Eric is busy reaching out to our guests to give them the information. Yes, we're gonna have guests joining us on the show today, folks. So it's gonna be a very fascinating show, to say the least. So they just announced over the last few minutes the top seeds in the regionals. We'll talk about that very shortly. But Eric, we're here. Selection Monday has finally arrived, and so we've had some fans reach out last night about who could be in, who needs some help, and a very fascinating situation. I mean, guys, be careful. About 27 minutes away from the selection show.
Yeah, it should be fascinating to see what they come out with. The bracket coming out in about 27 minutes. We'll kind of get your last projected field here in a few minutes. By the way, let's see if we can amp up your audio a little bit. Your audio is not as sharp as it usually is.
Yeah, let me work on that right now.
Working the kinks here in the morning. I'm still working on my own bracketology for Division One, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, you can find that on xratedsoftball.com. Oh, by the way, so let me work on that while we get that situation fixed up. By the way,
But
while we're waiting on Eric to get his stuff worked on,
And we
there you
should
go. Now
be.
you sound much better. Now you're much better.
Okay, there we go. All right. So, by the way, follow us on social media. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got all the stuff going on. So, they have announced the top 8 top 8 seeds and regionals, excuse me. Adelphi is the 1 seed in the East. U of Indy, the 1 seed in the Midwest. Tampa, the number 1 seed in the South. Texas Tyler, the 1 seed in the South Central. North Georgia, the 1 seed in the Southeast. Concordia Irvine, the 1 seed in the West. So we are waiting on 2 more regions to come out. That will be the central. That's going to be the Central and the East. Now, what you're going to see below is what I projected to have for the regional seed. So right now, I'm feeling pretty good, Eric, about the top seeds in each region. We're still again waiting to see what's going to happen in the East region and the South Central. It's likely going to be Central Oklahoma after winning the MIAA tournament and regular season title, both against Missouri Southern and East Stroudsburg. Now, the Atlantic was very unusual because East Stroudsburg and Westchester both lost early in the PSAC tournament that was won by Shippensburg. We may have a couple people talking about that later on during this morning's festivities. So it was very difficult for me, Eric, to figure out who I will put in the Atlantic as a 1 seed. But South Central, I think, is easy. It's going to be the Bronchos of Central Oklahoma. And after their run that he made to win the MIAA and get the double up after winning the regular season championship, ironically enough, they did it on Sunday versus Missouri Southern.
No surprises for you in this unveiling so far?
So far, no surprises for me. Because I figured the Delphi winning the NE10 regular season tournament title, they would be the top seed. Tampa, when they beat St. Leo 2 out of 3, I probably clinched it for me there. Really, the only question was going to be who would get the number 2 seed. Would it be St. Leo? Would it be Alabama Huntsville? And I'll definitely reflect on that when we go into the selection show, which will start in less than a half an hour. What questions do you have for me, Eric? By the way, the Central region has been announced. No surprise, Central Oklahoma is the 1 seed in the Central region. So we are waiting to see who will be the 1 seed in the Atlantic region and see if I can start off 8 for 8 on my morning, sir. Eric
Yeah, I
Lopez.
think so far is pretty much gone well. What are some of the storylines you're looking forward to seeing here? Some of the parts of the bracket you're looking forward to finding out.
Well, the number one thing I was looking into was what's going to happen with the South region because going into the weekends, St. Leo was the 2 seed, Nova Southeastern was the 3, Alabama Huntsville was the 4. St. Leo lost the opening game of their series versus Rollins. They bounced back, swept the doubleheader on Saturday. Nova Southeastern took care of business with their series. Alabama Huntsville won the Gulf South Tournament Championship, did so in impressive fashion versus Auburn Montgomery. Subsequently, on the bottom side of the bracket, you have Auburn Montgomery, West Alabama, and Valdosta State. Now, West Alabama was the team that lost in the conference final to Alabama Huntsville. Auburn Montgomery went to the semifinals, lost to West Alabama. Valdosta State went 1-2, and they got dominated in those two games. One of those three teams will not make the tournament because the SIAC champion Edward Waters won the SIAC tournament championship. Now, unless they have not finished the reclassification process from NAIA to Division II, they will be the 8th seed and they will get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Otherwise, it will go to Tuskegee, who they beat in the SIAC tournament championship. But that's going to be the one storyline I'm looking at. What's going to happen with the South 5 through 6 and 7? Because I feel confident that it'll be in some order: Tampa, St. Leo, Alabama, Huntsville, Nova Southeastern, Mississippi College. That's the 5. 6 and 7 is going to be what I will be looking at immediately, because 6 and 7 is going to be traveling. So there's a possibility, Eric, as we get ready for the selection show, that you could see a mini cluster in the Gulf South with Alabama Huntsville, West Alabama, and Auburn Montgomery, who Les Studeman had to beat last week to win the Gulf South Tournament Championship. So that possibility is clearly on the table, and that possibly means we may have a tournament without Valdosta State, who was a top 5 team as late as March before they had a precipitous slide and had a tough time in the Gulf South tournament.
So let's go region by region. Your final projections.
Yes, sir.
For those that may not have seen it, it's on the Twitter, on In the Circle. It's been on the Twitter handle. Let's go region by region. Give me your final projections and why and why you made the selections that you did.
Okay. By the way, we were still waiting for the Atlantic region. So whenever we find out who the top seed is in the Atlantic region, we'll give you that update to let you know. So let's start off with the Atlantic region. Funny you should mention that. Now, the Atlantic region, I have East Stroudsburg as my number 1 seed because, again, with so much chaos that happened at the top with the top 3, I felt hard to punish East Stroudsburg because you can't award Westchester because they also left the PSAC early, like East Stroudsburg did. At least East Stroudsburg won a game, so I couldn't justify making that move in that regard. I have moved up Shippensburg to the number 3 seed because the fact that they went on that run they did in the PSAC, beating who they beat, I tend to award, and if you're going to actually notice this as we go through my projections, I tend to award teams who make those runs in the postseason and beat the quality opponents that they did. So hopefully that will come to fruition. So the Atlantic, I have East Stroudsburg 1, I have West Virginia Wesleyan 2, I have Shippensburg 3, Charleston 4. Charleston had to overcome weather delays and had to beat Davis and Elkins twice to win the Mountain East Championship. Congratulations to Michelle Frew. Ironically enough, Eric, on the 7-year anniversary of her guiding Rollins to their first regional championship in Valdosta, Georgia, she puts Charleston in the NCAA tournament, winning twice on Sunday to win the Mountain East. Westchester had 5. Fairmont State 6, Seton Hill 7, Bowie State 8. Now, similar to the South region where you have Valdosta State, West Alabama, and Auburn Montgomery all jockeying for position, and an HBCU that will be coming at the 8th seed, you had a similar situation with the Atlantic, with Kutztown, Seton Hill, and Fairmont State. Fairmont State won a game in their conference tournament. Fairmont State did better in the Mountain East than Seton Hill and Kutztown, so I gave Fairmont State the nod there. And then Seton Hill, I had them there at number 6. Kutztown had to advance farther in the tournament, and because Bowie State won the CIAA, they get an auto bid. They'll be the number 8 seed. So I got Seton Hill, Fairmont State in, cuts down on the outside looking in. But stranger things have happened, sir. So we will see about that. Have we? I'm still looking to see if they have made any announcements about the Atlantic top seed. Again, we will find out for you what will happen in the Atlantic very shortly. And as we expected, the number 1 seed in the Atlantic region will be East Stroudsburg. So far, so good, Mr. Lopez. Hopefully that's good news for you when you come to your brackets on Selection Sunday, sir.
We'll see. I don't know. That's a whole other story for another show. From that standpoint, let's talk about some of the other regions. Obviously, the big question. Those are your projections.
Yes. That's in the Atlantic region, yes.
That's a pretty good region. What else? What's your next region?
So the next regional we're gonna go over the East region. Now the East was a little easier to look at and kind of figure out in terms of who I felt should be in. So the East, I have Adelphi number 1, Wilmington, who won the CACC. They had to win twice versus the host Georgian Court, who I happen to have at number 3. Now, if Georgian Court had beat Wilmington, I would have swapped them. I would have had Georgian Court 2, Wilmington 3, had Georgian Court won the conference tournament title. But I have Wilmington 2, Georgian Court 3, Bentley 4, Caldwell 5, Franklin Pierce 6, St. Anselm 7, and St. Thomas Aquinas. No, Eric, I'm not talking about the powerhouse high school down in South Florida. I'm talking about St. Thomas Aquinas, the Spartans. They win their first ever East Coast Conference championship. Will be making their first ever NCAA tournament since moving up to the NCAA level in the early 2000s. So our congratulations to STA. They will be the 8th seed and likely will be traveling to Adelphi in the East 1 regional.
All right, go on to the next region.
Now the regional that kind of got buzzing at the 11th hour last night as I was doing my projections. By the way, we're 16 minutes away from the selection show. The Midwest, U of Indy correctly predicted as the 1 seed. I had Saginaw Valley State jump Grand Valley State to the 2. Grand Valley had 2 losses in the conference tournament to Parkside, which had one of the 5 lowest RPIs in the region. Now, and plus Saginaw Valley State won the league tournament and did so in impressive fashion. If you're going to be following along, I tend to award those teams who beat top opponents and win their conference tournaments. I put a little bit more weight on that as opposed to the body of on top of the body of work. You'll see why in the bottom of the regional standing shortly. I have Illinois Grand Valley State 3, Illinois Springfield 4, Ohio Dominican 5, Lewis who won their league championship. They had them at 6. Hillsdale, who won the Great Midwest for the 3rd time, they are at 7. And number 8 is where I will admit for full disclosure, I originally had McKendree coming in at number 8. However, there are a few people that we shall say anonymously tipped us off on. Missouri St. Louis with their strong push. Missouri St. Louis went to the conference championship. They beat U of Indy twice in the process, beat McKendree 2 out of 3 in the regular season and the postseason. So because of that, I have the Tritons in. I have McKendree out. That might be, Eric, the one switch that if I am wrong on and I get everything else right, that might be the one switch I might be kicking myself over if I don't get all 64
explain the switch
correct.
there. Explain the switch.
Well, McKendree coming into the week, they were number 5 in the regional rankings. Missouri St. Louis were at number 10. But Missouri St. Louis got their ace pitcher back, and they were riding a strong way. They won 3 straight elimination games, including eliminating McKendree and beat U of Indy as well to force an if necessary game before losing to the Greyhounds in 8 innings, 1-0. McKendree lost their last 3 games, 2 of them to Missouri St. Louis. So factoring in all those particular components, I gave the slight bump to Missouri St. Louis. What also hurt McKendree, in my humble opinion, is Hillsdale winning the Great Midwest title. Hillsdale was outside of the top 10, so of course, by rule, a team that is an automatic qualifier and is not in the top 10 gets themselves into the regional tournament. So had Hillsdale not won, I think McKendree, I felt would have felt safe to put McKendree in, and then Northwood would have been a consideration as well. Now, I do want to stress this also, Eric. There was a possibility of another bid thief in the GLIAC in the another league with Parkside, who was the sixth seed and below 500. By the way, Parkside was the team that beat Grand Valley State twice and eliminated the Lakers from the tournament, from the postseason tournament. They played Saginaw Valley State in the championship. So if they had somehow pulled off the upset and won 2 games, they would have been in the tournament. And both McKendree and Missouri St. Louis may have been on the outside looking in. But because Saginaw State won the conference championship, I think that Missouri St. Louis will get themselves into the field. I'm shaky on that. I'll be perfectly honest with you. We'll find out. We'll find out shortly if the Tridents get in or McKendree will get in. We will have to see.
Well, I mean, those makes a lot of common sense, doesn't it? Though, I mean, Missouri St. Louis has finished better. They're healthier now.
They finished ahead of McKendree in the conference standings. That is something that you have to consider. You have to also consider as well when you look at these regional when you look at the regional rankings. Now, McKendree, again, they finished 27-15 in region. Missouri St. Louis finished 29-20 in region, but Missouri St. Louis has that victory over UIndy towards the back end of the season that I feel is stronger and should give more weight, and also beating them head to head, because you have to consider when teams are close and you look at all the numbers and the variables. Sometimes you have to look at, okay, who won the head-to-head matchup? Missouri St. Louis just beat McKendree 2 out of 3 times in the last week. That has to hold some weight. At least for me, I think it will hold some weight. But we'll see if I'm proven correct very shortly. Let's go on now to the Central. Now, the Central, Eric, the Central was pretty easy to figure out in terms of where everyone's going to be seated. The only question would be who would be the 1, who would be the 2. And again, it came down to the MIAA championship. Central Oklahoma beat Missouri Southern like they did last Sunday to win the regular season championship. The Bronchos beating the Lions at the tournament championship. That's why I have them as the 1. Missouri Southern's the 2. The defending national champions, Rogers State, Coach Vaughn, there will be the 3 seed. Southern Arkansas, they are the 4. Harding at 5. Oklahoma Baptist 6. Minnesota Duluth, who came into the week as the number 8, seed. They win the NISC. They will be the 7th seed. And Southeast Oklahoma State wins the Great American Conference as the number 4 seed. They will be in the tournament as the number 8 seed. So if you're for example, if you're a team like a Washburn, if you're a team like a Missouri Western, that is not good news for you, especially Washburn, who went 2-Q at the MIAA tournament this past weekend in Topeka. I think that Washburn may have played themselves out. Minnesota Duluth solidifies their spot with the tournament with the Northern Sun Tournament title, and Southeastern Oklahoma State won their way in by winning the GAC. Now, Eric, let's go to a region that we know very well. The South region. The South region, sir, is when I flipped it back and forth, I'll be real, between, again, 6 and 7. I have Tampa as the 1 seed. I had Alabama Huntsville jumping St. Leo as the 2. I give credence to the fact that Alabama Huntsville won the regular season and the tournament championship, and the caliber of opponents that they beat on the way there. They beat Mississippi College. They beat West Alabama in the tournament final. So I have to give credence to that. I have St. Leo as the 3. It would have shocked me if St. Leo held at 2 and Alabama Huntsville flipped with Nova Southeastern. It wouldn't shock me if that happened either. I have Nova Southeastern 4, Mississippi College 5. I got West Alabama as my 6. I awarded the Tigers by virtue of making it to the Gulf South Tournament Championship and doing so in an undefeated fashion. Auburn Montgomery has 7 and Edward Waters as the side champion as the 8. No Valdosta State. They had a tough stretch to end the regular season, and they went 1-2 in the Gulf South Tournament. If you look at the scores, Eric, those 2 losses, they were blowouts. So I'm concerned that because of the way Coach Macera's bunch played down the stretch, that might cost them a spot in the South Regional Tournament. But let's see if the committee has a different mindset and philosophy about that.
There's always some interesting selections in that
Always
particular
is.
region.
Always is.
And then your final region?
Final regionals. Let's go to the South Central. Texas Tyler, I have as the 1. Colorado Christian winning the RMAC. I have them as the 2. Jumping West Texas A&M as the 3. Oklahoma Christian 4. Lubbock Christian 5. St. Edward 6. St. Mary's 7. Cameron 8. Now, St. Edward, St. Mary's, and Cameron, those were the teams that I felt were in the best position. Angelo State needed to make a run in the Lone Star Conference. They were one and done in the tournament there. Cameron actually won it. Cameron lost their opening round tournament there. St. Edwards won it. Of those 4 teams that I mentioned, St. Mary's, St. Edwards, Cameron, and Angelo State, St. Edwards was the only one who won a game in the Lone Star tournament. So that's why I made a flip with them at 6 and put St. Mary's at 7. And I put Cameron at 8 over Angelo State because at the end of the day, I can't punish a team who had the same result as the team below them at 9. Metro State Denver, they came in at 10. They had to likely win the RMAC to get themselves into the tournament. They lost in the semifinals to Colorado School of Mines, and that's why I have Metro State out. And then finally, the West region. The West region was I don't want to say it was actually we forgot the Southeast region. We got 2 more regions to go. So we got the Southeast, North Georgia, 9th straight Peach Belt tournament championship for Coach Mike Davenport, who, by the way, we may make an announcement about who will be appearing on the show very shortly. Wingate 2, Columbus State 3, Lenore Ryan 4, Francis Marion, who won their first ever Conference Carolinas championship. They are at 5. Lincoln Memorial, who won the SAC championship. They're at 6. Carson Newman, I have 7. And King, I have at 8. And then in the West, I have Concordia Irvine, Krista Rosendahl and company. They're the number 1 seed. I have Dominguez Hills, who won the CCAA. They had to win 3 elimination games, won 2 of them in extra. They won 2 of them in extra innings on Saturday to beat Chico State. By the way, if you're Biola or you're Azusa Pacific, be thankful that Dominguez Hills took care of business because if Chico State had won, they would have stolen a bid likely from Azusa Pacific, who I have as the number 8 seed. I have Concordia, Dominguez Hills, Simona State, number 3, Northwest Nazarene, Cal State San Bernardino, Biola, Cal State San Marcos at the 7, and Azusa Pacific I have as my 8. Those are my teams for the regional, sir, as we are 5 minutes away from the selection show.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna see how your projections look versus.
We shall see. We shall see.
Do they have they posted the link yet to the live show? I hate this. This is every year I go through this. We have a selection show. The division.
Hey, Eric, why don't you go on your soapbox about that? I got to take care of a couple of minor things before we do that, sir. Go ahead. I'm going to give you the spotlight, sir. So you go ahead and take care of your
all right, make it quick.
I will.
Selection show will be on ncaa.com. That's where many will be watching. We'll see when the link is posted up, and we'll see how that goes. Obviously, make sure you check out the podcast that came out earlier this morning, Monday morning. Kinsey Fowler is on it. With the Pac-12, we previewed the Pac-12 tournament, some of the storylines there coming up from Arizona this week. We also broke down the brackets for some of the other brackets there. So we'll see how that goes. Make sure you check out In the Circle SB on Twitter and then on our podcast feed on the archives. Make sure you check it out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast or on the YouTube channel as well. The latest RPI has come out in Division One. Boy, that's going to be very controversial this year. The
Eric will be
Louisiana
working on
region,
that after we're done with this show today.
literally, there's been some plot twists there I was not expecting. For example, Louisiana comes in at number 9 in the latest RPI. 9. That is significant. No team that's been in the top 11 RPI has ever missed has never missed opportunity to host. Every team is hosted. We'll see how that goes. Michigan has dropped all the way down to 49 in the RPI. That is an immense.
Wow.
There have been some massive plot twists. Here's the flaw in RPI. If you're not an RPI person, UCF has just swept Memphis. The reward, they dropped 10 spots in the RPI.
Yep. By the way, Eric, one thing that I do want to bring up, and Coach Les Studeman, who's on top of this more than anybody, she did bring up a very valid point.
Does she have the watch link to the damn show?
Huh?
Does she have the watch link to the NCAA live show? Is that a big
No, but
right.
She did bring up something that I mentioned earlier with Edward Waters. Since Edward Waters is not officially a Division II member, and they won the SAG championship, the bid would go to the runner-up, which would mean Tuskegee will be representing the SIAC as the number 8 seed. So keep that in mind when the selection show comes up. And if you don't see Edward Waters there, that's because they are not a full member of Division II. They're still in the transitional phase, and Tuskegee would be the SIAC representative as the number 8 seed in the South.
Right. Warp teams. All right, teams. Do you have the link to watch the selection show?
Let me see if I do.
That's kind of an important one.
That's kind of an important thing that we need. I agree. As we are less than a minute away from Selection Monday, and we don't have a link to the selection show.
All right, so it's not just me. All right, cool.
Don't worry, it happens every year. Our friend at D2 Softball was tweeting about that as well. So that's kind of their thing. That's kind of their thing. Hey Eric, do we want to share who we may be having on the show coming up?
Well, we're hoping. It's not like finalized.
Okay,
it could happen. Technology could always play a
exactly.
factor.
We are planning to have some guests join us on the show, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just say we've made a few phone calls and emails to see who we. So we're hopeful. Fingers crossed, knocking on wood, that we will be joined at the bottom of the hour at 10:30-ish by North Georgia head coach Mike Davenport. Also, hopefully we'll be joined around 10:50 from Allison Van Syok, the head coach of Shippensburg, the PSAC tournament champions. And then at 11:15, hopeful to be joined by Northwest Nazarene head coach Rich Wagner. Again, those are all tentative. We gave all the information. Make sure that we have all the correct links, get everything good to go. And that way we will be rocking and rolling. So 10 o'clock on Selection Monday. I'm Victor. He's Eric. You're watching the Inner Circle Division II Selection Monday. Watch along.
All right, I think we got a link. Finally.
Hey, progress. Yay.
You know what? Well, the show's been taped. That's why. They just put the link up.
Wait, what? Hold, wait a minute. The show's been taped.
Yep, it's taped. You technically fast forward. No, actually, you can't fast forward, but it's been taped. I can.
So what is this? One of those where you have to?
It's a 20-minute, 55-second show. So that's how you know it.
Wow.
But anyway, at least
here we go, folks. Yep. Eric and I might be a little bit ahead of each other. So we shall see. I have to wait for
you. Just do this like Sunday night. I don't know if you're gonna tape. Like, what's the difference? Put it on Sunday night.
Right. At least they didn't. At least they went back to Monday morning and not what they tried to do a couple years ago.
Well, the mistake there was they did it during the Division I. That was stupid. I'm saying doing it the Sunday night before Division I.
Well, they have the cross.
Here we go. We're going to start with the West. We're starting with the West region.
All right.
Northwest Nazarene as the 4 seed gets in.
Got that.
Give me your instant reaction as I read this off to you.
I'm not surprised. Congratulations to Coach Rich Wagner. Making
We'll be
his
joined by him
second
later on. Yeah.
making his second straight trip to the NCAA tournament. So our congratulations to him on making
He'll
that.
take on Cal State
Cal State
Bernardino.
San Bernardino.
Bernardino, they're the 5 seed, 31
Yep.
and 20 on the year.
Nailed that one. Bernardino had a chance to make a good run in the CCA to improve their seeding, but the CCA was full of upsets, and especially in that elimination round that he had on a Wednesday. So, and
What are our friends there? CUI is the top seed.
Yep, Concordia Irvine, Krista Rosendahl. They may have the deepest pitching staff in all of Division II. They have 3 legitimate arms that they can be aces anywhere. They all just so happen to be.
Wow. They will take on Biola, the 8 seed. Biola gets in.
So Biola's in. Now Biola was the 7th. Biola came in as the number 7 seed. So they dropped them down to the 8 seed. I'm really shocked by that.
They really Sonoma State is the 3.
Sonoma State's a 3. I figured that would be the case, so that likely means Dominguez Hills will be the 2 seed.
Sonoma State, the 3 here. This is the West region, the first bracket to be announced there. Cal St. San Marcos is the 6.
Wow. So San Marcos goes up to the 6.
Cal St. Hills.
Dominguez Hills.
Dominguez Hills is the 2.
Okay. Dominguez Hills being the CCA tournament championship. So that means either Azusa Pacific is going to be the 7, or did Chico State do enough making it to the CCA final to sneak in as the 7 seed? We're going to find out right now.
Suspense here on the West region.
Yes.
And the 7 seed.
And by the way, we do
Azusa Pacific is the
okay.
7.
So Azusa Pacific is in. So
there you go. How'd you do there?
I got all 8. I just missed the seeding. Now I do want to stress, ladies and gentlemen, Sonoma State will actually be the host for the West Regional 2, even though Dominguez Hills is the higher seeded team.
Southeast region, North Georgia, the top seed.
Not really a surprise. Mike Davenport and company. Another tremendous year. 9th straight Peach Belt Tournament Championship. They had to do it the hard way. Had to go to Columbus State, but they took the 2 Cougars out in 2 straight games. And they're going to be one of my favorites to win it all this year.
They'll take on King from Tennessee.
Yep, King won the regular season championship in Conference Carolinas, lost in the final to Francis Marion. Glad that King got rewarded with an at-large bid to the tournament.
Columbus State, a team North Georgia is quite familiar with, they're the 4.
Well, it kind of tells me, Eric, that Columbus State had to win the conference tournament to move up in the regional rankings. But a great season for the Cougars, one of the top home run hitting teams in the nation. They have an exciting.
Oh, they're going quick here. So Columbus State's taking on Lincoln Memorial is the 5.
Wow,
Lincoln Memorial.
Lincoln Memorial, the SAC champion.
And then Wingate is the 2 hosting.
I figured Wingate won the SAC regular season championship, got knocked out of the conference tournament early.
They will take on Francis Marion, who's the 7.
Congratulations to the Patriots. First conference tournament championships as being members of Division II.
The Wingate, Francis Marion. Now they're showing highlights of.
So likely would mean Lenore Ryan will be the 3-6 versus Carson Newman in all likelihood.
All right.
Lenore
Rhyme is the 3.
Yep. Figured that would be the case. And then Carson Newman will likely be the 6th seed.
Any surprises in this region while we wait for the...
No. I think the Southeast was quietly solid. The only question would be what would happen with Columbus State and North Georgia, but North Georgia took care of that, winning 2 straight of the Peach Belt Championship Series.
All right. So Carson Newman is the 6.
Yeah, I felt that Carson Newman would be the case there. What
are you, 16 for 16 right now? Or are you 16
so far?
For 16?
Yep, 16 for 16. So far, so good. So far, so good. The only regions I'm concerned about are the Midwest and the South.
Okay. Well, speaking of the South, here we go.
Here we go, folks.
The top seed, Tampa, the number 1 seed.
Congratulations to Leslie Cantor. By the way, first 40-win season in Tampa school history. And they've had a lot of great teams over there. But for that first 41 season, first season undisputed number 1 team in the nation, Sunshine State Conference Tournament, Sunshine State regular season champions. Maribel Feldman, I think, is going to be my vote for player of the year.
They will take on Tuskegee as
Yep.
the 8th.
So again, Tuskegee, for those of you who are just joining us, Tuskegee.
Whoa! Whoa! Alabama Huntsville is the 4.
Wow.
You
So
didn't have that one.
that tells me the committee was stuck at Alabama Huntsville, didn't give them credit for winning the Gulf South Tournament championship.
And Alabama Huntsville will open with Mississippi College. That is not an easy part of the bracket for Tampa.
Mississippi, I had a feeling Mississippi College was going to go to Florida. I didn't think Alabama Huntsville would be going there with them.
Woo!
Wow.
St. Leo is the 2. They get to host. Congrats to Aaron Kimberger and company over there. They're the 2, Vic.
They are the 2 seed. Again, I'm surprised that, look, I thought St. Leo would be battling with Alabama Huntsville, but based on Alabama Huntsville being a 4,
Not even close.
Not even close.
Wow.
They gave
What a weekend. What a weekend for the Tampa region for softball.
Yes.
With South Florida hosting the American Conference Championships, and you got Tampa and St. Leo both hosting. St. Leo will open with Auburn Montgomery. Wow. 7 seed.
I had Auburn Montgomery as the 7th seed. I felt they would sneak in. Now,
and Nova Southeastern's the 3.
Here's the drama. Will the committee reward West Alabama for the run in the Gulf South tournament, or will Valdosta State be in? Based on what I'm seeing, I think Valdosta State's going to be in.
Nope. West Alabama is in as a 6.
Wow. I got all of them right. Technically I got all 8. Technically I got the SAG champ. Nope. So I missed Tuskegee, and I should have done better research on my part. Don't understand that Edward Waters was not eligible yet. So
South Central, we move quickly here. UT Tyler is the top seed there.
The Patriot, the new Lone Star Conference tournament champions, wanted to sacrifice fly. The Patriots have a tremendous team, very balanced. The Patriots are looking to make a lot of noise after a surprisingly early exit last year from the tournament.
UT Tyler 54-4 will host 8-seeded St. Edwards to open.
So St. Edwards, I think, again, that 3-team triumvirate with St. Edwards, St. Mary's, and Cameron, all not really establishing themselves in the Lone Star Conference tournament. I thought St. Edwards would get the nod by virtue of them winning their opening game. The committee apparently thinks otherwise.
Oklahoma Christian is the 4 seed, and they will take on Lubbock Christian, the 5.
I nailed that matchup exactly. Oklahoma Christian played the Patriots very tough in the Lone Star Conference Championship game. That's a very talented ball club. Remember, Oklahoma Christian had a tremendous start to the regular season in non-conference.
West Texas A&M is the 3 and hosting, Victor. The 3, West Texas A&M hosting.
Okay, so that probably means Colorado Christian either didn't put in a bid to host or don't have the facilities capable of hosting. So Ruby Saltzman and the West Texas A&M, the Lady Buffs, getting a chance to host.
They'll open against Cameron, who's the 6. Colorado Christian is the 2. But again, West Texas A&M, the 3, is hosting.
So that likely means West Texas A&M Colorado Christian will likely be playing St. Mary's in the opening round in the South.
That is correct. You're on fire here. St. Mary's, Texas is the 7. You're perfect so far. You had a technicality that whatever.
Had a couple technicality. I'll take it.
I mean, whenever they take a break, in fact, I think the breaks come in here perfect. Good. They're taking a commercial break. Because I'm sorry. I got to go back to the South. You got Tampa, the number 1 ranked team in the country, has got to host Alabama Huntsville. Wow.
Mississippi College.
Your reaction to that? That is blockbuster. And the top 3 seeds in that region are all from the Sunshine State Conference. First time ever.
First time ever. I'm stunned. First time ever the Sunshine State Conference will be hosting both regional sites since we gone to Super Regionals. I figured that the committee will reward West Alabama for their run in the Gulf South tournament, but yet you don't reward Alabama Huntsville for winning the Gulf South tournament and beating West Alabama in the process. So
you're going to have the Sunshine State Conference champions and the Gulf South Conference champions in the same region.
Yes.
Has that ever happened?
In the same regional?
Yeah.
Not that I can recall.
All right, here we go. Midwest. This is the other one you've been talking about.
Here we go.
Got a lot of chatter. Indianapolis is the number 1 seed at 50-8.
The 8th seed is going to be interesting. Do they give it to Missouri South St. Louis for their run in the conference tournament?
Hillsdale is the 8th.
Okay, Hillsdale's the 8th. The Chargers, great Midwest champions. 3rd time that they've been conference champions. Our congratulations to the Chargers. Nice to see the Chargers doing something in the postseason, unlike the team in Los Angeles.
So Hillsdale and Indianapolis, the 1 versus 8 there in the Midwest. Lewis is the 4.
So they awarded Lewis for winning their conference championship, and rightfully so. If you look at what Lewis did to win the conference tournament, being you with Indy to win the conference tournament, that's an impressive feat. So that's why they gave Lewis the bump to the 4.
And they will take on Illinois Springfield, who's the 5, 33-22.
So based on this, I'm going to be looking at what happens with Ohio Dominican and who's going to be that 2 seed.
Well, 2 is Grand Valley State. They will host at 40-6.
Okay, so Grand Valley State, them going 0-2, them losing twice in the conference tournament didn't really do much to hurt their positioning. So Saginaw Valley will be the 3.
To Grand Valley State, they'll take out Missouri St. Louis. Missouri St. Louis is in as a 7, Victor.
I have to applaud the committee. They did the right thing. They rewarded the Tritons for finishing hot at the right time, making it to the tournament final. They rewarded them for, again, now the question is, will it be McKendree or Ohio Dominican that's going to be bumped out? We're going to find out right now.
Saginaw Valley is the 3, and they'll take on Ohio Dominican as the 6.
So McKendree out.
You called it, man. You nailed it. You're perfect.
Yep. I had a
technicality.
I had a feeling that McKendree going 2 in Q and losing 3 straight to end the regular season could cost them a bid. And turns out the committee was in alignment with what I said.
Adelphi is the top seed in the East region. They will take on St. Thomas Aquinas, who's the 8.
Congratulations again to St. Thomas Aquinas, won the East Coast Conference Championship, their first bid as an NCAA member. Our congratulations to that program. They've been making steady improvements over the last few years. Our congratulations to them.
So, whew. You're so far good, perfect so far here, Vic. Bentley is 4 seed.
Okay, I've gotten that one. The East might be a little bit more solid, hopefully, based on all the chaos that we've seen so far today.
So Bentley is the 4. They'll take on Caldwell, who's the 5.
Yep, I nailed that East 1 region exactly with the matchups. I think Wilmington will be the 2 by virtue of them winning the CACC championship. Now, will that mean that they host? We don't know. We've already seen 2, 3 seeds be given host sites.
Georgian Court is the 3, but not hosting. Georgian Court is the 3 seed.
Yeah, I figure whoever will win that matchup between Georgian Court and Wilmington would get the hosting rights out of the CACC. Georgian Court needed to win once. Wilmington beat them twice. So Wilmington
will take on Franklin Pierce, who's the 6.
Okay.
And then Wilmington is the 2 they will host, 39-13.
So I think it's going to be between it's likely going to be St. Anselm because Kutztown was the 8th seed. And then they got, actually, I think it might be St. Anselm's going to be at the 7th seed here.
No, it's Pace. That's the 7.
Oh, Pace sneaks in as the 7. So I will not be perfect this year.
Oh, so that's your first official miss. The
first official miss. First official miss.
Don't worry, I'll have a couple of misses on Sunday, I'm sure. Central Oklahoma is the 1 seed in the Central.
Well, the Bronchos, MIAA regular season and tournament champions. They have an offense that is just. There's something about offenses in Oklahoma that continues to put pressure on pitching staffs.
They will open with Southeastern Oklahoma.
Yep, the Savage Storm won the GAC tournament championship, and that's likely going to mean that if you're Emporia State, you're Missouri Western, you're sweating right now.
Harding is the 4.
Okay, Harding's the 4. I probably have them flipped, so probably means Southern Arkansas, Arkansas Baptist likely will be the 5 seed.
Nope, it's Oklahoma Baptist, the 5.
Oklahoma Baptist, the 5. Oh, wow. Oklahoma Baptist, they moved them up to the 5 seed.
Yeah, moved up to 5. Missouri Southern State is the 2.
Missouri Southern State's the 2. Now, I'm assuming they have to, I'm assuming they will be hosting.
Yep.
Okay, so they'll be hosting. So probably be hosting Minnesota Duluth as the 7.
Missouri, so they will. Yep, Minnesota Duluth, the 7.
Okay. Congratulations to the Bulldogs winning the Northern Sun Tournament Championship, punching their ticket to the postseason. They were 8th coming in, so winning the auto bid guaranteed their ticket to the party.
All right, the 3 seed, as they're showing, is
Should
Roger
be
State.
Yep, Rogers State's the 3. And then, wow, you're going to have a Rogers State Southern Arkansas opening round matchup in all likelihood.
Roger State will be taking on 3 seed. The anticipation here. They're milking it here. We're down to a couple minutes on this show here. Is this the last region or we got one more?
Oh,
Southern Arkansas.
Yeah,
Southern Arkansas.
The Atlantic region is going to be last, Eric. The Atlantic region is going to be fascinating with 6 and 7. Fairmont State, Seton Hill, Kutztown all had weak showings in their respective tournaments. Which
East
two of those 3?
Stroudsburg is the top seed.
So East Stroudsburg's the one that will likely take on Bowie State, who won the CIAA championship a couple of weeks ago. So they will be making a trip to East Stroudsburg to start regional play.
They'll take on Bowie State.
Mm-hmm. Now the 4-5 is interesting. I have Charleston and Westchester projected as my 4-5 matchup.
Westchester is the 4.
Westchester is the 4. Okay, so Westchester is the 4. Diane Lockey,
now you know my frustrations with seeding. You're this is my life right here. We're describing here. They'll take on West Virginia Wesley 5.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
You're stunned by that one. You're stunned by that one.
We may have a guest of a team who could potentially be hosting in a couple of minutes.
Charleston, West Virginia is the host as the 3.
Ooh, okay, so Charleston is the 3. Congratulations to Michelle Frew. Second season at Charleston.
Former Rollins head coach.
Yep.
Holy macro.
Again, 7-year anniversary, leading Rollins to their first and only regional championship. Has the Golden Eagles as a 3, and they're gonna be hosting. Congratulations to them.
Kutztown. Kutztown is the 6. Ooh. Shippensburg is the 2 seed, but not hosting.
So Kutztown is the 6.
Yep.
I missed on them.
Where'd you have them?
I had them out.
Oh, Shippensburg's the 2. Obviously, we'll find out later on maybe why Shippensburg's not hosting there. And they'll take on Davis and Elkins, who's the 7.
Oh,
Davis
and whoa.
You're stunned by this. Give me who would you have in the Atlantic?
I had Fairmont State and Seton Hill both in. So the combination of Fairmont State and Seton Hill both losing early in their respective tournaments, and Davis and Elkins running through the Mountain East before losing twice to Charleston on Sunday, has them in, and both Fairmont State and Seton Hill out. Wow.
There's always a surprise or two, isn't there, Victor?
And it came down to the last region for the surprise.
Wow. That's it. That's the field.
Wow.
That's the field for Division 2. That's the field.
I got 6. Technically speaking, I got 60. I got 61 out of 64.
You missed the last 2 there in the Atlantic.
I missed Kutztown.
The Atlantic was the last region that announced their top seed. So it makes you wonder if there might have been a heated room in there in that region. It sounds like,
because again, going into the conference tournaments with the Atlantic region, you had Seton Hill was at 6, Fairmont State was at 7, Kutztown was at 8, Cal PA was at 9, and Mercyhurst was at 10. That was the regional rankings going into the conference tournaments. So Kutztown get a benefit of a doubt. Seton Hill, Fairmont State, they both lost early. And then with Davis and Elkins making their run in the Mountain East, playing for the conference championship, going undefeated before losing twice to Charleston on Sunday. The committee gave Davis and Elkins the benefit of the doubt and rewarded, probably so I feel, Shippensburg for their run through the PSAC and giving them the 2 seed, and Charleston getting the 3 seed, and Charleston hosting.
A wild finish at the end.
Woo!
Wasn't this the same region last year that had the controversy with the
It was, I think it was one of those regions that had a 6 seed hosting.
Right.
It was in the Atlantic region that had a 6 seed that was hosting.
The Atlantic selling the South. You got nothing.
Yeah, the Atlantic selling the South. Hold my beer. That's essentially what they're telling them right now.
So the selections have been made. Now we are far from done. We are going to have some guests coming, hopefully.
Can we make the sound? Can I make the sounder, please?
Go for it. Go ahead.
Here we go. All right, folks. So, as we talked about it again, we are hoping that everything goes through. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, about 7 minutes or so, we will be joined by the 1 seed in the Southeast, North Georgia head coach Mike Davenport. 10:50, we're going to talk to the number 2 seed in the Atlantic, Allison Van Syak from Shippensburg. And then at 11:15, we're going to talk to Northwest Nazarene's Rich Wagner, his team, the number 4 seed in the West region. And we got, woo! And this is just a small taste, ladies and gentlemen, of what you could be expecting from us throughout this week, because we're going to be talking about Division 2. We're going to be talking about Division 1 conversations. Eric's going to be having guests left and right exclusively on our YouTube channel. So that's why if you're watching us right now, click on the subscribe button, turn on the notifications on the bottom right-hand side right over here. That way you don't miss any videos that we post on our Inner Circle YouTube page, because there will be content that we'll be posting here that you will only be able to find on our channel.
All right, Victor. Well, as we give me your thoughts here, you've had a few minutes to digest this field. What stands out to you?
The South 1 regional with Tampa, Nova Southeastern, Mississippi, with Tampa, Alabama, Huntsville, Mississippi College. That you can make a strong case for 3 of those teams to win the regional. And Tuskegee will not be an easy, and you can ask Les Studeman about this. Tuskegee is not going to be an easy out. Tampa fans, don't assume that you see Tuskegee in your opening round matchup, that you can chalk that up as a W, and that you're going to be advancing to the winner's bracket on Friday morning. That is not a guarantee by any stretch. Tuskegee is a very proud program, multiple-time NCAA tournament participants. The Golden Tigers are a team that you have to be focused on. And I'm sure Coach Cantor, Coach Rubio, Coach Jackie Davis, and Coach Neubauer, their hitting coach, their offensive coordinator, will certainly have a game plan in place to try and beat Tuskegee. But the 4-5 matchup, looking at of all the 4-5 matchups, the one that I'm looking forward to seeing the most, Alabama Huntsville versus Mississippi College. Because you have
that's taking place where?
In Tampa, Florida. Do you want to make it now, or do you want to wait? Do you want to make it now, or do you want to wait?
Well, let's just say we teased about going to Tampa on our regular podcast, which we encourage you to check out if you haven't yet, with Kenzie Fowler as the guest. We talk Pac-12, but we also talk a little bit about potentially going to Tampa. There's a lot going. What a weekend in Tampa! You got the American Conference Championships, USF hosting in Division 1. And you got both Tampa and St. Leo hosting. Yeah. That might be a first ever in that region.
That's a lot. But Eric, we will talk about all that later. But
here we go.
I referenced this earlier this year that matter of fact, we usually say this for announcements, but anytime we have a guest coming on, we're playing this anyway. Because we can. And joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, the head coach of the number 1 seed in the Southeast region, North Georgia, our good friend of the podcast, head coach Mike Davenport. Coach, good morning, sir. How are things over on your neck of the woods?
Good morning. We are excited to be in the field of 64 and excited to host here in Dahlonega for sure.
Yeah, I know the path to your ninth straight tournament championship was a little bit different, having to going on the road to Columbus State. But I'm sure your players are excited about another opportunity to play some more postseason games at home. What was really the message that you sent to your team going into that championship series, taking on a very tough Columbus State team that beat you early in the regular season, and understanding the stakes that eventually would be on the line?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, you knew it's an opponent you've played a lot of times throughout the course of a year, and very talented group with Columbus State, and you know you have to play very well, and you can't give them big innings. And I think for us, we were able to capitalize on some big innings ourselves. Who knows what will happen this week? It's just one of those. Two teams are so evenly matched. It's just a matter of who has the bigger inning and can control the big inning. But you've also got two other teams in King and Lincoln Memorial coming here that are extremely talented as well. So this is set up to be a pretty tough regional for four teams.
Yeah, I know King won the Conference Carolina's regular season title, lost in the final to Francis Marion. Lincoln Memorial had to win their way to the SAC to win the tournament title there. What will be the message to your team as you start your preparations for King with the opening round matchup, and then subsequently with Columbus State and Lincoln Memorial in your regional coming up this week?
Well, I think for most teams, they're going to get in trouble if they start looking ahead. If they start looking ahead to next week or to Chattanooga, you have to focus on those 7 innings you're getting ready to play that day. And if you don't, you're going to get bit. And I think that may have caught us a couple of weeks ago. You know, in our first round of the conference tournament, we lost to a very good USC Aiken team who was ready to play, and we weren't. And so I think that's something that any team participating this late in the season, they've got to kind of take heed of warning to, and just make sure that they're focused on that game that particular day, what's ahead of them.
Coach, obviously, congrats once again. Tell us a little bit about your team this year. What, for those that maybe haven't followed your team as closely, what's been the key? You were number one for a good, decent amount of the year. Just talk about this team and what has stood out about this team for you this year.
Well, Eric, I really think, last year I felt like we probably arrived a little bit sooner than we thought we would. 2 years ago, our first opportunity to get to Denver, Colorado, we lost 5 really talented pieces after that season. So we thought it might be this year where we'd have a chance to get back. And then last year, we just kept grinding. We took some pretty strong losses throughout the course of last season, but the kids really evolved about the last 35 days of the season in 2022. And that momentum kind of carried into this year, and getting to Denver last year, but we also had some success in Denver, I think kind of gave the returning group a lot of confidence. And then we were able to add some really key pieces to the roster. We lost 2 starters to injury that we were hoping to get back next year. Our center fielder, our first baseman, one of our leading RBI getters for us. So we're without basically 2 starters that would potentially be in the starting lineup, but we've had kids that just filled in and are playing out of their minds right now. And that's been a huge key. But I think for us, cultural wise, I think it's the unselfishness of this group. Our pitching staff is 5 deep, and that's not usual for us. That we've had success in the past, riding 1 or 2 arms in the, with some of our past success. But I think right now we've got 5 arms we can go to, and they complement each other very well. And they're very unselfish about how they go about their business as well.
You have a deep pitching staff, and part of it is your new pitching coach, Aaliyah White, which I'm familiar with her work. Obviously was a great player, Division I at UCF, in her first year as a coach there. What impact has she had to your team, your program here, as you brought her in?
Lily's come in and just done a great job of communicating with the pitching staff. She's got her work cut out for her because she's got 5 arms. So it's not like she's been able to focus on 1 or 2 arms, but she's done a great job finding out the personality of each of our pitchers and really taking what they do well and maximizing their abilities, and taking what they don't do so well and kind of raising their abilities there as well. And she's got them out of their comfort zone a little bit in the fall and trying some new different things. But they trust her. And that's the biggest component, I think, when you have a new pitching coach and new pitcher and pitchers coming back in, that they have that trust factor. And that's been established early with Aaliyah. And I think you're seeing the success that's showing on the field.
And someone who's done it not only for you both in the circle, but at the plate, Sophie Mooney, hitting .438, 62 runs driven in, and sub 2.5 ERA. part of your pitching staff. What has made Sophie such a big part of your team, even with the losses that you referenced earlier, Coach?
Yeah, Sophie she brings something different in the circle for us. She's a hard drop ball pitcher for us, and that gives us a different look. Offensively, she's a very talented young lady. She can play a lot of good first base. We just haven't needed her there quite yet. Maybe there are a spot for her in the future, but we know she'll be in the circle, and she'll always have a bat in her hand in the lineup for us. And she's got good power, great base running instincts as well. And just comes from a real good high school program that compete at the highest level here in the state of Georgia. So she's competed against some of the best talent in the Southeast for a long time.
The Southeast region, Coach, this year, it really felt from my vantage point that you had several teams that didn't make the field that you could have made a strong case for, like other schools. Like, yeah, you mentioned UC Aiken that you stumbled against at the Peach Belt tournament, Lander, who had a strong year this year. What was it about the region this year, and particularly the Peach Belt, that got your team prepared for this postseason run that will hopefully take you to hit your goals and reach Chattanooga?
Well, I definitely you saw in USC Aiken what their abilities were. Lander and Georgia Southwestern were two programs that I really felt could be in the field of 8. But I think when you compete against the Peach Belt, you have an opportunity. It prepares you for the long run. And I think outside the Peach Belt, we do the best we can to go out and play some of the best teams in the southeast part of the country, not just inside our region. And I think that also prepares our kids for postseason play.
How have you seen that region grow in your time there? Where has the growth come from? Is it the talent pool? Where has that? Because it's gotten stronger every year.
I think it's probably just there's so much talent in this area. I mean, the Chattanooga area is talented. Obviously, the greater Atlanta area is talented. The Florida schools are picking Georgia kids. We're picking Florida kids. The Alabama area is extremely talented. There's not so much population in the states of like South Carolina, North Carolina, but they turn out some tremendous ball players at the Division I, Division II level. And then, of course, the state of Tennessee as a whole is extremely talented. So all in the southeast part of the region, you've got great coaches, great travel ball programs, great weather, great facilities. And I think, a lot of good talent comes through either Chattanooga, the tournaments that run in Chattanooga, the tournaments that run through the state of Georgia and that Atlanta area. So these kids get exposed to a lot of good Division II, good Division III, good NAI and D1 programs as well. And I think that's really the biggest attribute to why there's been such a rise in these programs.
Coach, you've been part of this program for such a long time, and you've been able to be in these situations before. What has been the biggest key for you to maintaining and sustaining not just a level of winning, but a level of culture and accountability at North Georgia that has made your program so consistent over the years?
I think it's just that what you just said, Victor, is just consistency. It's just, I'm not a big gimmick guy. I try and there's really nothing special that we do other than just show up and go to work every day. But I think the roster turnover is key for us in keeping and maintaining a good roster balance. I've heard a good saying from a lot of high school football coaches say, get old and stay old. And that's where your success comes from. We try and do that as much as we can. COVID has messed things up the last couple of years, and we have really one senior on the roster right now. Last year we had none. So it's something that we couldn't control with the COVID roster. I think once that gets through, we'll get back to some normalcy, I guess, with our roster management. But I think with us is just you're going to lose pieces, but you have to find pitching, consistent pitching. We're doing it differently, and I've been able to evolve my thought process as well. And I think maybe my couple summers coaching at the professional level saw the benefit of having and creating a staff more than just riding one arm as much as we have in the past. And especially going to a 3-game series, you get in these double elimination tournaments, it's very difficult to ride one arm anymore.
Yeah, it is very difficult to ride there. What has surprised you about your team this year? Is there anything that surprised you, either from an individual player or just an aspect of the team that surprised you this year?
Eric, I think it's probably just continuing to evolve. Last year we had 2 kids that didn't play much their first 2 years that had monster years, just given the opportunity. This year, again, like I said, based on injuries and a couple other outside of instances that were out of our control, couple young ladies got their opportunities that may or may not have. And boy, when they got that door open, they just kicked it in. And Mariah Wicker being one young lady who got the named all tournament MVP last weekend. She's done a tremendous job for us. Waited her 2 years, but continued to work. Sydney Blair at the top of the order after Mallory Parker went down with a season-ending injury. Just being a freshman, she's come in and done a tremendous job at the leadoff spot. And then, bringing in Sophie Mooney to our program, our pitchers have all continued to evolve. And I think that's what's been so positive with this group. And again, it's them pulling for each other. They love to see each other have success. And there's nothing that makes a coach more proud than to see that.
Well, last question, Coach. What will be your message to your team as you start those initial preparations for hosting another regional, and what you want to see them do to continue projecting forward as you're now in that postseason situation?
Well, I think it's the old adage, is being where your feet are at. I mean, it's today is all we're worried about right now is King. I mean, that's it. That's all we can worry about. We can't go to phase 2. We can't go to super regionals. You can't worry about being in Chattanooga. You can't until you're there. You have to worry about that first game, or you'll find yourself in the losers bracket pretty quick, which we did a couple weekends ago. So you've got to focus on game 1, pitch by pitch. I know it's an old cliche, but that's what you have to do in this position. And for all the 64 teams that have made this far, it's a tremendous honor. Only 8 are going to go on, and that doesn't mean that the other teams weren't successful. Everybody who's gotten this far have earned that opportunity to call themselves in a national tournament contender.
Definitely. Again, your tournament will start Thursday versus King. Mike Davenport, thanks so much, Coach, for taking some time out this morning. We wish you all the best, and we will hopefully talk to you soon.
Yeah, guys, send our best to Coach White too. There.
Yeah,
we'll do. Thank you, guys. All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Mike Davenport, head coach of North Georgia, joining us here on our In the Circle Division II selection show. And Coach, he brought up an interesting point, Eric, and we mentioned this when the news was first announced with Aaliyah White coming over to be a part of Coach Davenport's staff. And we see the work that she's done with that pitching staff led by Sony Mooney and those 5 arms that they have: a 2.62 ERA, Delaney Hearburn, a 2.17 ERA, 12-2, Sophie Mooney, 9-2, Tabby Denton, 17-1, Kristen Davis, 15-1, 2.91 ERA. So it's all, and when you're in these postseason situations, Eric, you need multiple arms to take you where you need to go. And he's got some capable arms and a pitching coach that knows how to pitch in these situations in Aaliyah White.
No doubt. For those that may not be aware, Aaliyah White, the all-time leader in wins at UCF, won 99 games, was the grad manager coach for Cindy Ball Malone at UCF last year when the Knights won their regional and made it to the super regional. So she got to learn from Coach Ball Malone, who's one of the best pitch callers in college softball, one of the best pitching coaches. She's the U.S. national pitching coach right now, Cindy Ball Malone. So pretty good pedigree for Aaliyah. Comes close to home. Her family's 3 miles away from that campus. And, man, their pitching staff, you heard Coach Davenport talk about the depth that they have. That's why I kind of liked them early, Vic. I noticed the depth in that rotation that they had. That's going to bode well for them, I would think, this postseason for North Georgia as they try to make another run through the postseason. But as you said, they got a tough region to start with King, and they obviously got Columbus State, who's going to feel pretty confident, but that's a fun region. But Coach Davenport, one of the top coaches in college softball, not just Division II, but college softball. I mean, the guy,
definitely.
He's done the job he's done at North Georgia has been remarkable, Victor, as you know as well as anybody having covered Division II.
Yep. To put this number in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, you take out the non-COVID, take out 2020, where the season got canceled due to COVID. Mike Davenport has failed to win less than 38 games one time. And that was his first year in 2001 where he won 29 games. That's all you need to know about the consistency and the excellence that he has set up for this program. One of the top programs in Division II without question. And there will definitely be a lot of people's favorite to make it. But as we've seen, Eric, if you go into that losers bracket, and Coach Davenport highlighted it, they lost to USC Aiken in the Peach Belt Peach Belt first round when they hosted. It's tough to come out of the losers draw to get yourself back to the get yourself to win any tournament, whether it be a conference tournament, regionals, or the national championship. That first win is always important to stay on the winner's side of the draw.
No doubt. So that should be a fun regional up there. They're gonna have a good time over there.
Yes,
For North Georgia and company there, but a much improved Peach Belt Conference, though. Conference
yes.
that keeps getting stronger and stronger every year, Victor. That's got to move it up and up in the rankings, I think, in Division II conferences.
Yeah, Columbus State had a tremendous year. We mentioned USC Aiken, Georgia Southwestern programs who had strong runs. Lander, who gave Columbus State all they can handle before Columbus State advanced to the championship series, before eventually losing to North Georgia. But yes, Peach Belt is definitely a conference on the rise. And we'll look for more things from them going forward.
That's a good
Still
way to
more to
start the show here, huh? Not a bad way
yes.
to start.
Not a
National
bad way to
champion head
start the
coach
show.
Mike Davenport.
Yep. Coming up next, we are projected at about less than 10 minutes time to talk to the head coach of the number 2 seed in the Atlantic region. Shippensburg head coach Allison Van Syak will join us to talk about her team. And there is a rumor, Shippensburg fans, that there may be an appearance from a certain mascot. I don't know if that will be happening or not. We will keep an eye out for that. Eric has no idea what I'm talking about. Eric, I'll explain it to you if they are blessing us with their presence. And then at 11:15 Eastern Time, Rich Wagner, the head coach of Northwest Nazarene, the GNAC two-time back-to-back tournament champions, will be joining us there at the 4 seed and will be taking on Cal State San Bernardino in their opening matchup as they will travel to California to take on Concordia Irvine in the West 1 regional. Eric, you've seen the regionals yourself. What regional did you have questions on that I may be able to give
Well,
you
let me
my
ask you.
best guess?
Well, let me ask you this: which team right now do you think has the right now you felt got snubbed that you think has a gripe?
Alabama Huntsville. Because
So you're talking about just from a seeding standpoint.
all right, I'm talking about from a seeding standpoint, I think Alabama Huntsville because you reward West Alabama, who was the 8th seed, for their run to the Gulf South Tournament championship game. But yet, the team that they lost to, who won the Gulf South Tournament, who won the regular season championship, Alabama Huntsville, they're stuck at the 4 seed. Now, again, I would have minded if they placed them at the 3 seed, flipped them with Nova Southeastern. I could have gotten that. But the fact that they won the Gulf South Tournament championship and they stayed still at 4, and not only, and again, with seeding, Eric, we'll talk about this more in Division 1. Not only are you punishing the team that got misseeded, you're punishing the team that they had to face, and you're punishing the team that has to host them. So Mississippi College, who they saw in the Gulf South tournament last weekend, and Tampa, who's going to be hosting that opening round matchup, they're both going to be in trouble. And that's going to be a wild regional. We may have more things about that. But Eric, we have another guest coming in, and well, I say guest plural. So can we play the sounder?
Go for it.
All right, folks. Joining us now is the head coach of the PSAC Tournament Champion, Shippensburg, the 2 seed in the Atlantic, and their unofficial mascot, head coach Allison Van Syak. And as I requested, Shippo the Hippo is in the house. Coach, good morning. First of all, how is your team feeling after finding out that they jumped up to the 2 seed in the regionals coming up this week?
Yeah, we're really excited. We knew we needed to put a good week together going into conference tournament. And I just kept telling them, leave no doubt, let's just go win the whole thing. And so when we got the 2 seed today, our selection show, we had a huge reaction. We were super excited. And I just think that they're ready to rock and roll. We're in the weight room right now. We got the music bumping. We're ready to go.
And your team had a strong week. You beat Seton Hill in a wild game. I was following that Wednesday afternoon, and every time I checked my phone, I'm like, okay, they scored again. And you won that game. Then you had to eke by Slippery Rock in extra innings, and then you beat Bloomsburg twice to get to the championship game, to get to the championship. When they got the final out and you knew that you were to be in the tournament, what was that initial wave of emotion for you and for your program, understanding that not only will you be going back to the tournament, but you won your first conference title in 18 years?
It was honestly, in that exact moment, I couldn't even believe it. And I think many of our players also felt the same way. They were so excited and also just like, holy cow, we just did it. Like, we absolutely did it. And we set that goal from the beginning, especially coming off of our season last year where we finally broke through into regionals. And then this year, like, we had set our sights on winning a conference tournament. We had some moments throughout the year where we were like, man, we let that one slip away. But when it was go time, man, we decided to show up. So it was just really pure elation.
And I'm sure you're proud of your freshman, Caitlin Martell, tournament MVP, a phenomenal weekend. What was it about her play that it felt like she took her play to another level when it got to the tournament? And she really, along with the rest of her, she was the one kind of leading that push to kind of finish that mission that you referred to last year.
She is deeply internally motivated. She does not need external factors to get her going. So honestly, going into that championship game, the way the day before Bloomsburg had walked Hannah Marsteller intentionally every time, I was sitting in the hotel room like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I flip-flopped the lineup because I knew that Caitlin Martell was like manifesting greatness. And I said, like, I know she's a freshman, but she is a clutch player and has been all year. So I was like, if they're going to walk Mars, I'm going to make them go through both our 3 and 4 hitters instead of not having a shot at letting Marty do work.
Coach, and I think Eric, my partner over here, he's looking at me. He's like, Eric, I told Eric about Shippo. He was like, what the heck is he talking about? And can you please explain for the folks at home, Shippo the Hippo, how he became a part of the team and kind of the inspiration Shippo had leading your team to the your success in the conference title?
Okay, so it starts with April Fool's joke. We kind of release this thing. Our university releases this thing that Shippo the Hippo unfairly didn't become our mascot quite a few years ago. And our team just locks on to this concept of Shippo the Hippo. So Shippo, this guy right here, is our unofficial mascot here. And he just has brought so much, I would say he's a calming presence. I know it's silly to say. We just kind of come back to him. And so the university just released Shippo the Hippo as a first mate officially. And so this guy is like our softball's unofficial hippopotamus that we bring with us. He started showing up when we played Shepherd earlier in the year, and he has come with us everywhere we've gone. And it's just something that keeps things in perspective, keeps us relaxed, keeps us focused on softball.
Now, Coach, I do have to ask this question. Did Shippo get a hat and a T-shirt when you won the conference title?
Shippo got a T-shirt.
Okay.
And he's probably going to rep it here soon.
Oh, that's very good, Coach. Give me your reaction, Coach. What was your reaction as you saw that bracket unfold? Were you surprised that you got a 2 seed? What were you expecting?
I was not surprised about us getting a 2 seed simply because if you look at the numbers, we had a pretty high strength of schedule. And then the final week sort of played out in our favor, going 5-0 over the course of the conference tournament. I was a little surprised at the bottom half of the bracket and just who ended up getting in what position. So I was a little surprised there. But at the end of the day, we have our assignment. We have a lot of prep work that we need to do. And we just have to go continue to do work.
And now you mentioned that work starts for Davis and Elkins team that got red hot in the Mountain East. 1 win away from winning the auto bid themselves before losing twice to Charleston on Sunday afternoon. That a game that got impacted by weather.
Yeah.
What would be the message to the team now that you know you're facing Davis and Elkins and focusing on winning that first game and making sure that you're taking it pitch by pitch and doing what you can do within yourself to helping the team to get the victory?
I mean, listen, maybe I should hire you to tell me. I just take it one inning at a time. So our message this whole postseason is literally been just that. We can't look ahead. We can't look at getting to a championship game until we win the first game. And that first game is so critical. How you come out in the first inning is so critical. So that is exactly what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on today, having a great weight room session, getting a good practice in. I will do work. So then tomorrow we can watch film on Kutztown again, Charleston, Davis, and Elkins, so that we are fully prepared for what pitching we're going to see, what offensive lineups we're going to see. So it's really, we like to be fully prepped and know what we're going to see going into a tournament. And then it is just, we don't cave. If something doesn't go our favor in one of the innings, we've been saying it all year long. We don't cave. We just keep going and we just keep plugging away and we put things together as a team. We are an emotional team and a high energy team. And when we stay there, we end up playing really well.
And if you saw that game versus Seton, I think that game versus Seton Hill, I referenced that 15-10 back and forth battle. The energy that I can see from the dugout when those home runs were being hit left and right, you put up those crooked innings, the energy comes off on the television screen. And I'm sure, Coach, you can sense that in the dugout when that momentum really starts rolling along and your team is playing at that high energy level that you want them to play at to help them optimize their abilities.
Yeah, our dugout is honestly critical to our success. And I've been saying it all year. And finally, we sort of have come together at the right point where everybody does now understand if you're not on the field, that's okay. You have a critical role in our dugout. And so we've got new cheers prepped. We've got like different lineups and like where we're supposed to be standing in the dugout. We got cheers for Hippo prepped. So it is, they are firing on all cylinders right now. And honestly, it makes me super proud because I know how hard it can be if you're not on the field. But the fact that we have bought into being a collective in our approach, it is just really awesome to look at and see.
What is going to be the approach as you go on the road? I mean, because audiences they're brand new or some might be confused. Wait, you're the two, how are you not hosting and all that? Just talk about that process of preparing your team to go on the road and the fact you get the 2 seed, but you don't host.
Yeah. So we honestly knew from the fall that we would not be able to put into host. So just kind of clear all that up. We're starting a massive locker room construction project, which happens to be right beside our field. So we have this beautiful facility, but we've been prepping since the fall because our administrators did a great job telling us early on, like, listen, we love you guys, but we also want to continue to upgrade our facilities. So we want to let you know that this is the case. We will support you in every way that we can, but we're not going to be able to host this year. And it is what it is. We just have to take that mentality of like, let's go be the underdogs. Let's go. Even though we're a 2 seed, I think we play better when we're in that mindset of go prove people wrong. So we're going to Charleston and that's okay. We'll get on the road tomorrow. We'll get a good night's sleep. We do well when we eat good food. So we get a good dinner in us. And then it's just all business when we get there.
Well, Coach, we will.
The food part, I'll tell you that.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
It's very good. What, real quick, Coach, before we let you go, what surprised you about this team? What was it? Was there a moment in the year where you thought you could, get to this level? What was the talk about this team, and what was some of the maybe surprise you going in?
Honestly, we had to have a regrouping talk early in the year because I thought we were underachieving. And so I said to our team, like, hey, we're going to not practice today. And we're going to talk about this. And we talked about it. We kind of got out some of our feelings about where we are, what support our pitchers needed. And I think, honestly, a turning moment for us is pretty late in the year. When we really showed up for the Westchester series, I know we split with them. I thought we had an opportunity to sweep them. And then the last series of the year, we played terrible versus Kutztown. And I said to them after that series, we have to let it go. And if you guys believe in anything, you have to believe in the power of letting failure go, but learning from it. And so that honestly, I think is a turning point for us because we just decided to just play and have fun.
And next thing you know, you're a 2 seed, you're a PSAC champion, and you're have a chance to have even bigger and better things.
Yep.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time. I know you, Shippo, and the rest of the crew have some preparations to do, so we'll leave you go with that. Coach, congratulations. Thanks for the time, and thanks to Shippo for making a cameo appearance as well.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you,
Congrats,
Coach.
Thanks.
Allison Van Sciak and Shippo the Hippo from Shippensburg, the 2 seed in the Atlantic, joining us here on our Inner Circle Division 2 watch along. Eric, I told you I had something for you, my brother. I told you.
That's a first in the history of In the Circle. I think it's the first mascot that's made an appearance on this
We've
show.
had a lot of firsts on this show, but look, the Shippo the Hippo movement, if you follow them on social media at Ship U Softball, they have really embraced Shippo the Hippo, and it started as an April Fool's joke, and now it's become kind of a rallying point for this ball club. And congratulations to them. And this is something that's been building. They made it to the regionals last year. They were a 6th seed, made it to the quarterfinals of the PSAC. Now they win the conference tournament championship. They're a 2 seed. Got to go to Charleston, take on a very tough Golden Eagles team. Well, that's going to be a very fun regional to watch, especially with a Davis and Elkins team who I said yesterday, Eric, going into going into the championship game, I thought Davis and Elkins had to win the tournament to get themselves in. The fact that they got in, and not only did they get in, they got in as a 7 seed. So they jumped Seton Hill, they jumped Fairmont State, and Kutztown, because of it, bumped up a spot. That's going to be a very fascinating opening round matchup with Shippensburg and Davis and Elkins, 2 teams who are probably playing the best softball at the right time.
Coach kind of backed you up as far as perhaps surprised a little bit by the select, because I know that's the one region where you missed a couple picks.
Yeah,
what do you think happened there?
For full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, I had Fairmont State as the 6, and I had Seton Hill as the 7 with Bowie State at the 8. I had Kutztown out, so I missed Kutztown, and I whipped on Davis and Elkins because, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't know. I only thought Davis and Elkins had to win the Mountain East Championship to get in the field of 64. Apparently, the Atlantic committee thought otherwise. So, hey, I'll proudly take 61 out of 64, and we will go about our business accordingly.
Now, the team that'll be hosting the 3 seed there
is Charleston.
Your thoughts, Michelle Fruit, you know very well.
Yes.
You covered her for a long time at Rollins. We covered the story when she stepped away from Rollins, came back, took the Charleston job. Your thoughts on the job she's done there now? They're hosting a regional once again. A heck of a story there.
For Charleston to host regionals, the Golden Eagles have a very tremendous squad, and I'm excited for them. Personally speaking, I'm excited for Coach Frew. This is actually the second time, Eric, in her coaching career that Michelle Frew will be coaching a team that hosted regionals. The other time went back in 2011. Hopefully, things will turn out better for the Golden Eagles than Rollins did that year. I
hope she has better weather.
I hope the weather is much better this weekend in Charleston, West Virginia, than it was that infamous weekend in Winter Park. Do you have like a surprise revelation you want me to discuss out here too, or do you want to save that for another episode?
That's just a great that regional is hilarious. I'll never forget. I'm in Greenville covering the.
By the way, we will schedule to have Rich Wagner from Northwest Nazarene coming up at about 15 minutes time to wrap up the show. But go
I
ahead,
remember
sir.
I was in Greenville, the CUSA tournament. You were
Mhm.
broadcasting that historic regional at
Yes.
Rollins. I remember getting back to the team hotel late that Friday night. And I called you, and your phone went abruptly to voicemail. And I was kind of confused. And I thought, well, maybe you went to sleep or something. Next thing I know, I click on the link. You're on the air. It was like near midnight.
Yeah.
That's that was
So
a
what? So you see what? So you see what had happened was
yeah.
Tampa and Arkansas Monticello had played the earlier game of the day, which was at 4 o'clock. Tampa won in a walk-off. Then we had lightning in the area, rain in the area. Game was supposed to start at 7. Game didn't start till 11 o'clock. And the game went to extra innings.
Yep.
So I didn't leave then Lake Allen Park, now in Martin Luther King Park, until 1:15 in the morning. Then I get back, and then I had to turn around and be back there at 10 a.m. because we had to play the elimination games. Turns out Mother Nature wasn't going to cooperate, and that day Saturday got washed. So
I remember that. I flew back in town, and you told me, nope, regional's not done yet. Not even close.
mhm. So they had to play. I want to say they had to play 4 eliminate. They had to play 4. Yeah, play 3 games on. They played all 3 games on Sunday. And Arkansas Monticello won 3 elimination games to advance to the regional championship. And West Alabama won that regional as a 5 seed. Actually, no, they won that as a 6 seed. They were the 6 seed that year.
One of the wildest regionals in history in Division Two.
Yep.
Let's hope there's no good weather in Charleston up there.
Here's,
Let's
yeah,
hope there's good weather in Tampa, because that's what we're going to be, Victor. And while we have some time here, I think it's time
shall
to
we?
talk about. Go ahead.
All right, folks. We thought it was going to happen. There was a feeling that it might happen, but I will officially put in my request
Oof.
this morning after the show is done. And Saturday, Eric Lopez and yours truly will both be in Tampa, but we're not going to be at the same location. Eric will be at USF covering the American Conference Championship game. Yours truly will be at Vince Naomi Family Field covering the South 1 Regional Championship game. And we'll have all of the coverage for you, photos, videos, interviews on our In the Circle social media accounts. And it's only fitting, Eric, you brought this up during our episode that is out right now that you can listen to with Kenzie Fowler. What so was it 6? It was 7 years ago that our first live
5
quote
years ago.
unquote
5 years
5 years ago, our first real live In the Circle took place from Tampa the last time the American Conference Championship was
Yep.
being held there. In Tulsa, with then head coach John Barfeld won the conference title.
Yeah, it was part of that show, if I recall, live show. So we'll do that again. But we did not have a regional in Tampa in Division Two at that same
No,
weekend. That's the difference this weekend. In
no.
fact, we have not only one but 2 Division Two regionals now in the division. Now you know that area as well as anybody, because boy, you have pretty much
I've
you have
covered a few.
residents there.
I have let's see, I have residency in Tampa, I have residency in Melbourne, Florida,
Yeah,
a residency in DeLand, Florida. Yeah,
that's right.
I have a lot of real
So
estate.
tell the audience where the USF campus is for Division One, where the
Yes.
American Conference Championships are going to be held. The championship game Saturday, scheduled 11 a.m. Eastern. Then you've got Tampa hosting a region on their campus and St. Leo hosting in their. This is a historic weekend for that Tampa region that obviously has great history and passion for the sport of softball.
Yes. So, for perspective, From the USF softball stadium to the University of Tampa, it is 21 minutes via Fowler Avenue and going 275. From Tampa to St. Leo, that is 40 minutes. So that's a little further trek. And Tampa to St. Leo and then USF to St. Leo is about 45 minutes, give or take.
Wow.
So, and here's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we presuming Tampa and St. Leo win, which is knowing with Division II, top seeds don't always hold serve, especially in the South. There is a distinct possibility that you could have a first time ever all Sunshine State Conference Super Regional. That is possible.
That would be held in Tampa.
Which will be hosted in Tampa, yes.
These two teams just played recently.
Tampa taking 2 out of 3.
But as you mentioned, though, Tampa, for the number 1 ranked team in the country, got a tough regional.
They did.
I mean, that's so. I don't.
They did.
When you were thinking about this, let's be honest, full disclosure, you were talking about this idea. We were talking about. I don't think you imagined this regional to be as stacked as it was. You're stunned by this.
I felt my if you go to our In the Circle Twitter account, I posted my projections an hour and a half ago. I had Tampa, Nova Southeastern, Mississippi College, and Edward Waters. Coach Les Studeman correctly reminded me that Edward Waters likely wouldn't be eligible for because of being a provisional member, and Tuskegee would get.
She really did remind you?
She did. Yeah, go to our timeline.
Well, now you get to thank. Are you going to thank her in person?
One, she may thank me. 2, she may ask me why the heck you have. One, she may thank me, and 2, she may ask why the heck did the committee put us still as a 4.
And your answer is
I know nothing. I know nothing.
So is that your critique? Give me what's your critique? Some of the selections here.
Well, overall, if you look at based on the respective regional committees, the hardest jobs that they had were the Midwest, the Atlantic, and the South. Because I don't think anyone foresaw Davis and Elkins from being outside of the top 10 to being number 7. At least Missouri, St. Louis, they were in the top 10, and you can make a reasonable case for them getting into the field of 64, especially with them playing to the conference tournament championship. But the Atlantic was difficult to figure out. That's why it took them so long to figure out who was going to be the 1 seed, because East Stroudsburg got bounced early. West Virginia Wesleyan got bounced early. And Charleston, who came in as a 5 seed in the Atlantic, not only are they the number 3 seed as a Mountain East champion, but because you heard Coach talk about it earlier, because of their facilities, Charleston gets the host.
It's going to be wild. People asking about game times. When do the regional game times usually
come? I would recommend go to the. Let's see, Robert. When will game times for Tampa Regional be available? I would recommend go to TampaSpartans.com. They may have.
What's your prediction? You have based on your history covering regionals, what do you think they would do? Because obviously there's going to be. I
would not be surprised.
These events here. This is a big weekend.
I would not be surprised. And here's the other thing as well. If I'm not mistaken, Tampa Women's Lacrosse is the number 1 seed in that tournament in the South, so they may also be hosting. So, if you're going to the University of Tampa campus, parking will be scarce. I will just leave it at that. Oh, by the way, I do have times. I have times for the Tampa Regional.
Breaking news.
Yes. Breaking news. Oh, hold on. Breaking news. Hold on. I got to get the breaking news.
Boy, he loves that drop. There we go.
Brother, this is what happens when you look. This is what happens when you're looking at camera. This is what happens when you're looking at stuff. Okay, so here we go. So if you can see, ladies and gentlemen, here are your times for the Tampa Regional. Tampa will play first versus Tuskegee at 12 noon. And you notice that they're playing on Friday. They're playing on Friday.
Wow.
So that is a complete shift in our plans, potentially. Tampa plays Tuskegee Friday at noon. Alabama Huntsville plays Mississippi College at 3. They have the winners bracket game at 12 noon Saturday.
Oh,
Then you have the elimination. Then you have the first elimination game at 3, and then you have the second elimination game at 6. The championship game will be at 1, and then of course if necessary, will be played at 4.
interesting. So a Friday Sunday regional.
Which means, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh boy.
we may have to discuss this off air when we come off, Eric, because I had literally that's gonna be that's gonna be interesting.
Could hit both up. I'm curious what the St. Leo schedule regional. If they'll do a Friday Sunday, or they're gonna go stick to a Thursday Saturday, or what they're gonna do. But Friday Sunday regional in Tampa. I kind of wish that winners bracket game be like at 1:00, 2:00, and then we could, because the American Conference Championship game scheduled for 11 a.m. So we could have done like a double dip.
Exactly.
Instead, we'll be split. Instead, we'll be split up.
We will figure something out, Mr. Lopez. We will figure something out. By the way, no official updates as of now on the St. Leo side of the ledger. We will definitely try and have that information available for you. Now, I don't want to play the drop yet because we're waiting for Coach Wagner to come on the podcast. He should be joining us a couple minutes to talk about his team making it as the number 4 seed in the West. But I'm gonna have to think about a lot of stuff with my predictions when I do my D2 Tuesday regional previews, which will be coming out tomorrow night on our YouTube channel, 7 p.m. likely. Again, follow us on social media to find out when we'll be doing that. But this has been I don't think last year had as much drama as this year's selection show did.
Sure.
It clearly didn't have the drama that he had in 2013 that Eric made me have to bring back up during our first watch along with Tennessee and Arkansas. Thanks for making me relive that Monday morning, sir. Still can't believe he did that.
The anniversary. Got to bring up anniversaries.
Just because something is an anniversary doesn't necessarily mean it's a good anniversary you want to talk about.
Well, but look, it was therapeutic, and I think you helped a lot of schools that didn't maybe felt snubbed today have similar experiences.
Valdosta State, for example. Well, but the difference between Valdosta State this year and Rollins in 2013, Valdosta State was going downhill towards the end of the regular season. Rollins had been playing very well, and somehow Rollins got jumped, and Tampa did not. Let's see, Rob. Hey, fellas, go Panthers. History says when Leafs get eliminated in ball in Ontario, Canada, starts the next week.
There you go.
Thank you, Rob. There
you go.
You see, for full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, when we recorded our episode of the podcast, which is out right now on your favorite podcasting platform, I was wearing this Florida Panther jersey, like old school. This is from like John Van Beesbrook back in '96, the year of the rat with the Florida Panthers. So I don't know.
They're up 3-0. Yeah,
hey, we'll take it.
Hey,
Toronto people said they didn't want Florida. Well, they got Florida, and they're 1 out away from getting the vacation in Florida for the summer because they will be eliminated from the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Nothing.
Got audience is coming from Canada. Gotta love
Yes,
it.
that's why we always say. You want to know why we always say goodnight, Canada? That's why.
There you go.
That's why.
It's not because of Tony Kornheiser.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Very good. There you go.
I wish, although I do need to start bringing a Canadian flag to wave with me whenever we do these live shows when I say goodnight, Canada. But alas, I digress.
All right, so while we waiting, hopefully get
Wait for
Coach
Coach. Yeah,
Wagner.
we are waiting for
Now,
Coach
in his
Wagner.
defense, it's out west, so
So it's about 8:15 a.m. his time. So he's probably still getting caffeinated, getting his breakfast in, and probably still meeting with the team right now. The GNAC regular season and tournament champions, as they as they defended their championship, knocking off Western Washington.
What while we wait, what's your big takeaway you're going to learn from this process? As you had 61 out of 64. What was it? Really 62. One of them was a technicality. You didn't know that a team was ineligible. I don't know how you're supposed to find that out.
Well, yes. Well, I know. Actually, it was 61 out of 64 because I'll take the technicality. I missed Kutztown. I missed Davis and Elkins. I missed Pace in the East.
Oh, that's true. So what are you going to take away from this experience? What did you from this process?
And all committees are different. Different committees value different things in terms of some committees value how you play down the stretch. Some teams value how you play against head to head, and some committees just make it up as they go along.
Which team of the three you miss you think has the biggest gripe?
I don't think any of them have a particular gripe per se, but if I have to choose one, I would probably say probably Fairmont State, because if you look at the three between Fairmont State, Seton Hill, and Kutztown, Fairmont State went the furthest along in the conference tournament than any of those three. Fairmont State was the number 7 seed. Kutztown was the 8th. Seton Hill was the 6th. So essentially, Fairmont State got punished for doing better in a conference tournament than Kutztown did. But Kutztown has wins. Now here's the big thing. Kutztown was helped when they had a doubleheader sweep over the now PSAC champion Shippensburg, that final doubleheader of the regular season before the conference tournament. So that gave their RPI a boost, which was enough to get them in and bump Seton Hill and Fairmont State out. That's my biggest gripe. That's probably, of the three that got left out on my list, I think Fairmont State had the biggest gripe.
Interesting.
Now McKendree, you can make a case for them as well, but McKendree, they lost three straight.
Well, you broke that one down, right? You broke that one down pretty good.
Yeah, I did break that down. And again, my original listing, I have McKendree, but after looking at the numbers, and I literally had a tab of McKendree's schedule and Missouri St. Louis's schedule. I literally had those two side by side. I had the data, the raw data with the RPI, the strength of schedule. Missouri St. Louis, their RPI was literally identical. The strength of schedule was nearly identical. But the way Missouri St. Louis finished, getting to the conference tournament, McKendree going 2-Q in the conference tournament, that got things going in the Flames, got things going in the Triton's favor, and that's the reason they are in, and they are firmly in as the number 7 seed, and Hillsdale being the 8th, and McKendree went from being the 5th seed, being the 5th ranked team in the region going into the conference tournament, to getting knocked out altogether.
That's a big free fall there.
Yeah. I mean, I understand teams falling to 6. I understand the teams falling to 6, but a team falling from 5 to out altogether, that was probably one of those perfect storms that everything that you didn't need to have happen happened. Lewis winning the conference title, that happened. You had Hillsdale winning the Great Midwest title, that happened. Missouri St. Louis getting to the league final, that happened. You going 2-Q. So it was a combination of various factors that eventually led to them being knocked out of the tournament.
That's the first that I ever remember you in all the decade you've covered this. I don't remember you saying a 5 seed got knocked out. Usually it's been a 6 or a 7 that gets bumped out.
It's a 6 or a 7, and the reason why it's usually a 6 or a 7 it's because a team that's either 9th or 10th or out of the picture altogether wins the conference tournament. Or in some cases, like a Davis and Elkins, they went to the conference final, went to the Mountain East final versus Charleston, and knocked out Seton Hill, who was 6, and Fairmont State, who was a 7. And they didn't win the tournament. So if you're Fairmont, especially if you're Fairmont State, you're looking around, you're like, okay, we won 2 games in our conference tournament. We shouldn't be out altogether. But again, when you're in a region where you have a champion that's guaranteed a spot who doesn't make the top 10, that means you have to do a little bit better in the conference tournament than what you anticipated. And unfortunately, Fairmont State was on the wrong side of that, and Kendry was on the wrong side of that. Valdosta State in the South was on the wrong side of that. This is for all the teams that were huddled in their respective locker rooms and meeting halls this morning that were excited to see their name pop up on the screen. There were several other locations who were expecting to see their name called that didn't, and several great careers ended, and it wasn't because of what happened on the field. And that's the tough part of having a selection. That's the tough part of being this selection show, is that you're gonna have seasons end that you didn't anticipate ending. That's why when you talked about 2013 with Rollins, it was so bittersweet, because that team felt confident that they were going to be in, and then when you see your region pop up and you don't see your name there, and you see all 8 teams and yours doesn't pop up, you're shocked, and then your heart starts to break, because you realize that setting that you're in right now, at that point in time, that's the last time you're going to be together as a team. And for the seniors, those are the hearts who break the most, because that's it for them in terms of playing collegiately.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That's the mixed emotions there that comes on a selection night, regardless of your division, especially a Division Two, and that's the good and the bad of what this process is like. Certainly,
Yeah, we are still waiting for Coach Wagner to join us here, so that's why we're kind of delaying things on our.
Yeah, you're reaching
outro.
out to him as we speak.
Yeah,
so
we're
try
reaching out to them as we speak.
try to see if he'll be able to join us there. If down the stretch here, I still got a long day ahead of me. With
We still have a
everything.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
While we're waiting for Coach Wagner, we have a lot of stuff that we want to promote on our
Yeah.
on our podcast coming up. So normally we have a Thursday episode, but because it is championship week, we're gonna bump it up to Wednesday. That's where we're gonna have more of our Division Two. I preview my analysis there. You will hear the interviews that we have with Coach Davenport and from Shippers and from Coach and Syak as well on the podcast. We're going to hear more in-depth analysis about the regionals. 4 regions will be broken down on D2 Tuesday. The other 4 will be broken down on Wednesday's episode. Eric will be having various analysts talk about conference tournaments that you can find on our YouTube page exclusively, as well as the podcast. So just keep an eye out for that. And Selection Sunday, that's gonna be a wild time. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is called stalling for time. This is called.
Yeah,
stalling.
we'll have a live show 7:00 at night on Sunday night.
Yes.
For the Division One selection, we might be on a few minutes before that.
Yeah, because they'll likely announce the top 8. They'll announce the top 8 seeds in alphabetical order like they've done every year.
Is it top 8? I thought it was top 4, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's top 8.
Top 4, top 8.
I think it's top 4. I think it's top 4. But so we'll see. So we're gonna wait a few more minutes, see if Coach Wagner is able to join us. If not, maybe we might do a tape. Tape it.
Yeah, possibly. We can make things work.
We've done before. So but give me your final thoughts here as we start wrapping up here on this day. What you're gonna think about here, what jumps out to you here for this 2023 Division II field. How many teams, let's start with this, how many teams you think can get to Chattanooga
Hmm.
and hoist the national championship trophy?
It's such a fluid number, Eric, because who foresaw last year a team that was the 6th seed in the West region in the Mingus Hills making it all the way to playing for a national championship before losing versus Rogers State? There's always going to be that one team that comes completely out of nowhere that we're not talking about and we're not expecting that makes it to Chattanooga. Having said that, I'll make my official picks on D2 Tuesday. On Tuesday, I'll make my official picks on Wednesday's podcast. Again, we're going to do a 2-part preview of Division 2. We'll preview 4 regions on D2 Tuesday. The other 4 will be previewed on Wednesday's episode, and that will be where I make my predictions for regionals. It's always going to come down to the team that's playing the best at the right time, the team that has the best pitching or pitcher. And you know this, Eric. It's always the teams that benefit from that lucky break, that bounce, that ball that pops out of the glove and is caught by the outfielder backing up the play. A ball that takes a weird hop over on the turf that bounces over the second baseman's head instead of going into the glove and getting a 4-3 force out to end the inning. It's gonna be something like that that's gonna determine who comes out and goes to Chattanooga. I will have to say there are at least 20 legitimate teams who can make the trip to Chattanooga and have a legitimate case of winning the national championship. But as we know, Eric, anything can happen in the postseason. Heck, in the NBA, we got a number 8 seed who won a play-in tournament leading 2-1. We got a team who was a wild card in hockey, just beat the team with the most victories and the most points in NHL history, up 3-0 on an original 6 franchise. We have a 7 seed in the NBA, who's technically not a 7 seed, up 2-1 on a team that is the defending NBA champions. So it's all about matchups. As you notice, Eric, in the postseason, it's all about matchups. Who do you match up well against? How do things work themselves out?
Yeah, it's always unpredictable, and should be a fun postseason that'll be getting going across the country this weekend here in Division 2. Of course, Division 3 will be going on, and AIA will be going on. Division 1 will be in their
JUCO.
conference. JUCO, yeah. Busy time. Postseason. Mayhem. We're here.
Yes,
Finally.
man. Yeah, so what we're going to do, folks, looks like we're not going to get Coach Wagner probably still discussing things with his team and all. Again, it's about it's 9:15 Mountain Time, 8:15 Pacific Time. So we're going to work to get Coach Wagner on the actual podcast. It will likely be D2 Tuesday or a Wednesday episode.
Yeah, it would be ironic. 5 years ago, Coach Wagner was on the podcast while I was in Tampa covering the American Conference Championship. We could just do that. We bring that.
Why not?
Go full circle.
I mean, let's continue the full circle of this of this.
Yeah.
So just to recap everything that we talked about. Alabama Huntsville has a gripe of not hosting despite winning both the Gulf South regular season and tournament championship. Fairmont State has a gripe for not making a tournament. Davis and Elkins won their way in despite not winning the Mountain East tournament. Charles, we have 1, 2, 3 seeds who are serving as hosts in Simona State, West Texas A&M, and Charleston. I got all 8 top seeds correct. I got 61 out of 64. I say 61 because I got the SAG champ, but I forgot Edward Waters wasn't eligible. So thank you, Coach Les Studeman, for correcting me properly on that. Besides that, Eric, I think it's time for us to get ready for the road to Chattanooga. It's officially begun, sir. It's officially begun.
It's been a fun show. Thanks everybody tuning in. Thanks to Coach Davenport.
Thanks to Coach Van Syak for joining us as well from Shippensburg. Thanks to Shippo the Hippo for joining us as well. Eric is still like, wait, what? We had it. Yes, that was Shippo the Hippo.
I'm gonna go ahead and get some caffeine, more caffeine in my system.
I need some too. I
I got a
We got a
long day.
long week. We got a long week ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, by the way, Eric, there's one other announcement that we need to make, and that's not going to be related to our particular podcast. So let me.
Oh boy.
On top of everything else, hold on. We're not ending the show. We're not ending the show.
Okay, there you go.
Coming in, joining us now. We know he had to take care of talking with his team. The head coach of the now back-to-back GNAC champions, Northwest Nazarene, Rich Wagner, joining us. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time out. How are you and your team doing this morning? Now that you know you'll be going to Cali to start your postseason.
Oh, we're doing great. We're super excited. Kind of had an idea. I actually knew I sit on the rack, so I vote every. I was voting when we were getting on the plane coming home from Canada. And so I knew, but I kept it a secret from the girls, and we did a watch party. So that was fun. That was fun for them, and all the administration and some of the other coaches were there. So it was a good time, and we're super excited. Irvine's kind of a second home to us. We've been going down there quite a bit. I'm real good friends with Crystal, the Concordia coach. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time, and we're ready to go, man. These girls they're a fun team to coach right now. They're doing some great things. So it's a good time.
You're playing your best softball at the right time, Coach. You swept your way through the GNAC championship. You beat Western Washington to win the championship on Saturday. What's been the overall vibe and move of the team as if they're playing their best softball and doing it at the right time, and you get a chance to go to California, and you played very well last time you went to California this year in the Tournament of Champions, picking up some quality wins there. How's the team feeling going into that first round matchup with San Bernardino on Thursday?
Yeah, they just found out who they're playing. I think that everybody on the West right now, for the most part, seems like they're playing pretty well. So we try to do our best just to stay focused on our team. And they're very much a family-oriented group that like to have fun. And they kind of lean on each other. We talk about commitment. We talk about being prepared. Our preparation is key for us. Working hard. We try to work hard and practice every day. Try to treat practice like it's a game day. So our preparation, we lean on those things big time, and then just continuing to pick each other up. And that's kind of what the focus has been, is just that we serve each other, we care for each other, and then we compete like crazy. So it's been a lot of fun to watch them just consistently as an entire group. It's not just the starters. We won the game with a freshman coming off the bench and hitting a 2-run home run. So that was really, really cool to see. So it's been a lot of fun.
And for your team, Coach, and I know these last 2 years, because last year you set a program record for wins in 35. You top it again this year with 36. This particular stretch, what has been giving you the most joy and satisfaction as a coach in terms of seeing this team have this success with this program, winning a tournament 2 years in a row, now going back to the NCAAs?
I'd say it's our culture. We have really, really strived to not focus on wins, but focus on creating, great young ladies that continue to just do great things. We got a lot of alumni that are super excited. 2 of my coaching staff members are alumni, and, they helped us start in 2018 when we won our first championship and went to our first regional, and they're sticking around, and we have alumni coming from everywhere, and seeing them succeed and doing things has been a great, reward for me. It's not about the wins really, but it's funny when the wins, you kind of forget about winning and want to, see great kids and great culture. All of a sudden the wins come, right? And so that's been a lot of fun to see that. Our core values are love, serve, care, and compete. And that's what we try to focus on. And, the biggest reward for this team every year is we have our awards, our school awards. And the biggest reward is the community service award. And that's what is the biggest battle. We battle with women's soccer and men's basketball every year. And when we get that award, that's the number one thing, and it's what they do. They love to do things together. They love to, and then they like to get on the field and compete and pick each other up. And they really, I think they probably enjoy watching their teammates succeed more than they do, which is what I think is a great team.
Coach, I know you were mentioning us about your possible seating going into things, and obviously you being on the committee, you were privy to things that not all of us were allowed to, so we understand that. But how was it difficult for you to keep your team focused on doing their job on the field, understanding that as long as that was done, that they would have a great positioning in terms of being near the 4 seed. You have a very, very, very tough matchup in the opening round versus San Bernardino coming up.
Yeah, I think focus is a word that we use so much at the beginning of the year that we've kind of had to come up with other words because we didn't want to overuse it, So we use some terms like tunnel vision, and we really replaced it with commitment because it's one of the things that we talk about every game morning. Just staying committed and making sure that commitment is greater than our feelings is one of the things that we talk about because, you can be over and you're upset, but you need to be able to stay committed to your teammates. So they were pretty darn committed to every single pitch and every single game this last weekend, including every weekend in conference, because, we have one of our goals at the beginning of the year is to win regular season and to win the conference tournament. And when you win those conference tournaments and you go into those, it's a fight, man, because I do believe that every team in our conference is pretty darn good in a lot of areas. This was one of our toughest seasons as far as grinding it out. We had more one-run wins this year than we've ever had. So that was fun. And when you got across the border twice to go to Canada and play, the travel is a grind. It was tough, and it was interesting to, we went up there and we're 7-0 up there. So that was kind of cool. And the commitment and the word focus, like you said, is, I think you can see it in our record on the road. Our record on the road is pretty darn impressive. And then we come home and it's almost like we have a lot of things going on, whether it's class, those things. This year we've had a hard time keeping that word in check at home because some of our losses are at home. So we're excited to get back out on the road and do some things.
Yeah,
Coach, obviously, I want to ask you about your team. Talk about some of the players that have, helped your team have the success that it's had this year that haven't followed your team on a daily basis.
Oh man, that's tough because they're all awesome. But obviously there's Sydney Booth. Sydney Booth is an All-American and she's been a first team. She's been 2-time pitcher of the year this year, a Western Washington pitcher, beat her out, but she's been amazing. She's getting better every week. But Tori Hensley is a transfer that we got a while back now because the girls call her grandma. She's in her 6th season. She spent 2 years, didn't use a year of eligibility at Boise State. And she was recruited by Cindy Ball, who's a close friend of mine and kind of a mentor / inner circle for me. And Cindy called me up and said, "Hey, one of my old players is in the portal. You need to call her because she's a perfect fit for your program." And Tori has been amazing in our program. She's continued to get better. And she is family. She will always be family. So those two have been great. The 1-2 punch, they both have a sub-2 ERA. We've leaned on them pitching wise. And then the defense, guys, we do a great job on defense. Like we are built on pitching and defense and we make a lot of plays. Our center fielder is pretty fun to watch. She can go get balls everywhere. Our shortstop, another transfer from Boise State. She's awesome. And then our left fielder, who was player of the year this year because of her offense, but people don't know she's robbed 2 home runs and she won a game throwing someone out at home from deep 2/3 in the outfield, which is one of the best throws I've ever seen, both baseball and softball that I've coached. So that was a lot of fun. It's a fun group. We have some freshmen starting for us. We got a second baseman who was first team all conference as a freshman. It's just been a great group of kids. And the funny thing is that, if you go back and watch any of our post-game videos of girls being interviewed, they don't take any credit for themselves. They put it all on their teammates. And I just feel like as a coach, I'm super proud of that. And I think that it just is a testament to our culture.
And by the way, you mentioned Cindy Barbalone. That somebody in this area, well, I'm not going to name any names, actually knows Coach Barbalone very well. Again, I'm not naming anybody, just hint, hint.
Well, I want to mention, you were on our podcast 5 years ago. Victor interviewed you because I was in Tampa at the time covering the American Conference tournament. So you interviewed him. You talked about a coach on your staff that would leave you about a couple of months later, who I now know very well and hang out on a frequent basis.
Yep, that's one of my best friends, man. Bobby Malone.
So I guess the big question, because I found out that he apparently used to cook a famous salmon that he does not cook anymore in Florida. Did he ever cook you a famous salmon at any point?
Well, we call his number one cooking item for our family was red burgers.
Burgers.
You need to ask him about his red burgers.
Red burgers. All right, we're learning a lot about the cook that is. I'll be hanging out with him later this week in Tampa. Red burgers.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. We would barbecue almost every other weekend together, our families, when they were at Boise State. And we went over one time after their games, and my kids came up to me and said, "Dad, is this supposed to look like this?" And the burger was still raw. So it was pretty funny. So we give him a hard time pretty consistently about his red burgers. So good times.
I'm learning a lot. I've learned a lot this year about him.
Bobby, I love you, man. I love you.
I don't know if he'll feel the same way after you outed him about his. I don't, Eric. I think there's no other questions that we need to ask. I think the Red Burgers is the perfect way to cap this off, Coach. Yeah. Congratulations again on another conference championship, and we wish y'all the best. Safe travels to your team, and hopefully we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys, for having me on. Go Nighthawks.
Rich Wagner, the head coach of Northwest Nazareth. Eric, there's nothing else that needs to be said. There's nothing else that needs to be said. You need to reach out to Mr. Malone about his Red Burgers, and we need to get out of here because, that was a lot of show.
Long show, but a fun show, historic show, folks. Thanks to all the coaches.
Yes, thanks. So again, a lot of people to thank. Thanks again, Coach Rich Wagner, for joining us. Thanks again to Coach Mike Davenport for joining us. Thanks again to Allison Van Syak from Shippensburg for joining us. Folks, Mayhem is here on the Division II side. We're going to talk about all the regionals on our D2 Tuesday and our Wednesday episode. 4 regionals Tuesday, 4 regionals Wednesday. I'll make my predictions then. Eric will be getting ready to go to Tampa to cover the American Conference Championship. He will be having other guests throughout the week. Again, go to our YouTube page, subscribe, download to that. We will have our podcast on Wednesday. And if you excuse both of us, we're both going to need some caffeine because we have a long day ahead of us. Oh, Eric, remember that announcement I was supposed to make before Coach Wagner joined us?
Yeah.
Eric and I will be making our yearly appearance, the home and home, on Out of the Box. That'll be coming out this week. So on top of everything else that we're doing for you, we're going to be appearing on another podcast as well. So
long day. It's a
long day. Long
week.
week. We're going to be sleeping good next week.
Some of it, maybe. Listen, that's the
Bible. Hey, as long as these people keep winning and the Heat keep winning, we'll be fine.
Yeah, Heat play tonight as well.
Yes. So for Coach Wagner, for Coach Van Syak, for Shippo the Hippo, for Mike Davenport, and for my partner Eric Lopez, I'm Victor Anderson. Thank you so much for joining us for our Division II Tuesday here on our In the Circle YouTube channel. And for our people who are watching us in the chat, good night, Canada.